Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Amit Sharma from Informa Markets, and I welcome you to one of the most important sessions on biofuels. From and the session name is an essential decarbonization option based on circular economy. For an overall development and sustainability of the biofuels in India, a developed and stimulating technology and policy framework for advanced biofuels is a must. It can then help in decarbonization and provide the foundation of circular and waste to energy based economy to ensure a green future of the country. May I please invite our session moderator, Dr. Kedia, who's also the chairman of Indian Biogas Association. He'll be moderating the session. Our panelist for the day, Dr. Shukla, President IBA Indian Biogas Association, Mr. Bharadwaj Kummamuru, Executive Director, World Bioenergy Association, Ms. Tamar Reutemann, Executive Manager, Brazilian Biogas Association, Dr. Sachin Kumar, Deputy Director, Biochemical Conversion Division, Sardar Swaran Singh National Institute of Bioenergy, Kapurthala, India, Dr. Mohammad Abdul Kolik, Senior Engineer, Agency of the Assessment and Application of Technology, and Chairman of Indonesian Biogas Association, and Mr. Eddie Cook, Director, Southern African Gas Association, and Vice Chairman, Southern African Biogas Industries Association. May I please call upon Dr. Gaurav Kedia, the
Thank you.
moderator of the session, please.
Yeah,
Gaurav.
thanks a lot, Amit. I welcome you all to the biofuel session. And in fact, I personally hope that all of you are fine along with your near and dear ones. And, we are talking about the biofuels at a juncture where it is no more a mandate, an optional thing. It's a compulsion. We cannot just think biofuel as an optional thing where we can use or whether we cannot use. And in fact, if you see right now, all the countries are talking about decarbonization. They are talking about circular economy. And apart from this, I think we all agree that all the countries, they want to actually reduce their crude oil import. They want to really reduce their carbon footprint. They want to be energy independent. In fact, they want to be energy rich. They don't want to be energy poor as such. And we are talking about the inclusiveness. We are talking a lot of social perspective, and biofuel plays a big role. I mean, biofuel, as we always talk in general, that it's not just the energy. It has got multi-dimensional, result, and that's why biofuel is something which is very close to our heart at least. And apart from this, biofuel also takes care of the waste management, especially the organic waste management, be it from the industry side, be it from the, let's say, household side, or be it even from any other organic side. That's not a problem. And I don't think that any of us like the big landfill and the smell coming out of it, or even the leachate coming out of it. And that's why, in fact, it's very important now that we even take this thing seriously. Not only we just talk about the biofuel, but we also see what we can really do on the ground. And if you really see the trend earlier, for example, US was talking a lot about bio ethanol. They actually started biodiesel as well. Now they are talking about renewable natural gas, or bio-CNG, which we even term in this manner. And Europe, other way around, they started with actually biodiesel. Still, they put a lot of emphasis on biodiesel, but now they are giving a lot of emphasis on biogas as well, or to be exact, this RNG or bio-CNG or CBG, whatever you call it. So with this few word, I would like to open the floor. We are very lucky that we have got the eminent speakers throughout the globe, and we'll have a very good glimpse what is happening at present and what's the potential and how we can definitely harness that potential. Because all the time we talk about the potential, but harnessing that potential is equally important. Otherwise, just the theoretical thing, not the practical one. And we would also like to welcome the question. Depending on the time, I can't promise that we'll take all the questions, but definitely please keep sending us the question in the chat box. That's not a problem. With this, I would like to open the floor. And in fact, we'll start from the world perspective. Fortunately, we have Mr. Bharadwaj from World Bioenergy Association, who will be talking what is happening at this moment of time. And also, if you can just put some light what is the exact impact of this COVID also on the biofuel. That will be really helpful for the audience and helpful for everyone, in fact, to really foresee what we can do in reality. Over to you, Mr. Bharadwaj.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Caro. I think that was a very wonderful introduction, and you've already covered quite a few points which I also wanted to mention in my presentation. But thanks for setting the scene. First of all, also thanks to the organizers for inviting me to this wonderful session. Let me just share my screen first. Maybe if you can nod if you can see the screen. Perfect. Good. So again, as an introduction, my name is Bharadwaj Kummamuru. I've been working as the executive director for the World Bioenergy Association for the past 3.5 years, but I've been with the organization since 2014, and the organization is based in Stockholm. Firstly, briefly about the organization, our mission is to promote this increasing utilization of bioenergy on a global level, and also we make efforts to ensure that we support the business environment also for bioenergy. We are a member-based organization with more than 250 companies, associations, researchers, and individuals from more than 65 countries. Actually, if you look at the map on the left, it kind of shows where all our members come from. As you can see, there's a big cluster in Europe, mainly because our secretariat is based in Stockholm. But as you can see, there's a wide representation from different parts of the world as well. And we are very pleased because of that. And our activities include publications on fact sheets, statistics, events and collaborations, and so on. So the idea for the short presentation I have is to give a very general global picture on what's happening with bioenergy, what's the potential, and how do we go towards that. Firstly, what's the situation right now? If you look at the graph on the left, that's the global energy consumption overall. And as you can see, the share of renewables is about 18%. We're still dominated by fossil fuels. And this is not just electricity, it includes also heating, cooling, and transportation fuels. So as you can see, the share of renewables is about 18%, which hasn't been increasing since the last 20 years or so. But the key message is that the biggest renewable energy source is bioenergy overall, globally. Although it is important to point out that most of it comes in the form of traditional bioenergy, sometimes in unsustainable ways. And there's a movement going on to convert that unsustainable traditional utilization to a more modern, globally traded commodity overall. So there's a big part bioenergy plays in our global energy mix. And if you see on the graph on the right, where do we get all the bioenergy from? So there's a lot of misconceptions and myths going around as to where we get all the resource from. Most of it, about 85%, comes from the forestry sector, about 10% from agriculture, and about 3% from municipal solid waste, mainly from urban areas. As you can see, most of the forestry sector resource comes as the form of fuel wood, mainly for cooking and heating and the residential levels. Of course, we also have a big contribution in the form of charcoal and residues from both from forestry harvesting practices, but also in industries like paper and pulp. And 10% of agriculture sector, 3% comes in the form of, let's say, sugarcane, maize to liquid biofuels, but also about 7% from agri and animal byproducts. And finally, about 3% from municipal waste. This is what the situation looks right now. I'm going to talk a bit about the challenge we've got. This looks at all energy, but this graph looks at if you divide that energy consumption into electricity, heating, and transportation. As you can see, about half of our energy use comes in for heating, mainly for heating residential sectors, but also commercial establishments. And then about 30% to the transportation sector, 20% to power. As you can see, we've made big progress, mainly when you hear about solar, wind. We've made big progress in decarbonizing to a certain level the electricity sector, but we are far away in terms of decarbonizing both the heating and transportation sector, mainly because of lack of policies, favorable policies supporting those technologies to make good progress. And as you can see in the graph itself, bioenergy holds the biggest potential, in our opinion, in decarbonizing the heating sector and the transportation sector, but also significant contribution in the power. So that's what the situation is right now. looking ahead, where do we see the role of bioenergy going ahead? We did about a couple of years back a fact sheet on biomass potential towards 2035. So I took a screenshot of an interesting table we have in that fact sheet. So as you can see, 56 exajoules, different people like different units, people for exajoules. 56 exajoules is the amount of bioenergy we own supply globally. What we see is that we can easily triple the amount of biomass we currently use. But where do we go? Where are we going to get all that biomass from? Forestry will still play a significant role, but we see at least a tenfold increase in the biomass we get from agriculture sector to utilize for energy. So agriculture sector, mainly animal byproducts, agriculture byproducts too, biogas, liquid biofuels, and also say co-firing for power and heat. So agriculture sector should and will play a big role going ahead into the near future. And I thought I'd briefly mention Sweden as well, because since we are living here, the organization is established here, but also because bioenergy is already a big part of the Swedish energy mix. Sweden has one of the largest shares of bioenergy in the energy mix of the country. As you can see on the graph on the left, bioenergy, that's the one in the green. Sorry, all the text is in Swedish. But the light green is bioenergy, and as you can see, about 35% of all the energy in Sweden comes from biomass-based sources. In fact, there's more renewable energy sources in the energy mix than fossil fuels in the country. And the reason Sweden's been able to do that successfully are favorable policies, favorable government policies, public support, but also a key element has been putting a price on carbon, which made sure that we don't promote fossil fuels with subsidies, but at the same time, we make a level playing field for all technologies to work together. And finally, I thought I'd leave with a key message. We did a survey a couple of weeks back where we looked at the impact of COVID-19 on the bioenergy sector and the role ahead. There's been a significant impact on the bioenergy sector, mainly in the liquid transportation fuels, but at the same time, there's been less impact on, say, pellets and solid biomass and so on. So we've had 5 key messages. I think I'm just over my time, but briefly, I want to mention that bioenergy has to be recognized as an essential service all over the world, that policymakers have to ensure that bioenergy is the future, along with other renewable energy technologies. Make sure we disincentivize all the fossil fuel by removing subsidies, but it could also putting a price on carbon. Build back better with bioenergy by recognizing that bioenergy sector employs a lot of people and it can create millions of jobs around the world. And it's also important that it's time for ambition and action, because we are in a climate emergency and renewables and bioenergy will play a significant role. Thanks again for the opportunity, and I look forward to any questions after the panel presentations.
Thank you, Mr. Bharadwaj. That was quite and insightful. And it's always interesting, actually, because, whenever we talk about energy, people think in the, electrical terms. It's a megawatt electrical or something. But it's very important that we understand the uses of thermal energy or vehicular energy or something like this. And in fact, Sweden is one of the very rare country, I think, which is also importing waste, if I'm not mistaken. And that is something, that brings me to Dr. Shukla's statement, which I keep narrating. He once said that, the day people start going to police station and complaining that his waste has been stolen is the day where when we'll feel that we are successful. So definitely, actually, we are going in that direction only. With this, actually, I will come to Ms. Reichman. If you can really, put some light on the status of the bioenergy or biogas, to be exact, in your country, and how you are really coping it up with the COVID, etc. That would be quite good. Over to you, Ms. Reichman.
Okay, good afternoon to everyone. I thank the invitation to be here, Dr. Gaurav, and we have had a partnership recently with IBA, and it has been a really rich exchange of information. So I'm going to share with you my presentation. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about Brazilian biogas market. And while I do that, what I can say about COVID is the country is affected, of course, but biogas industry has not been so affected. I think renewable energy is in a really good moment for it. It's being pushed. The projects are being put in its foot, and they are happening, and they didn't stop. Biogas projects that were already happening, they didn't stop, they continued, and there are new projects coming in this year. So I think we have a good opportunity, and we have a good moment for bioenergy. And really quick, so Brazil is a really large producer of biofuels, such as ethanol and biodiesel. And biogas, we are still in the beginning, but we have a lot of potential. I'm going to show you a little bit. So Brazilian Biogas Association was created in 2013, and we are now around 70 companies from all the supply chain. So we have here, we understand that in Brazil we have everything we need to build a plant to produce biogas, to generate electricity, to generate biomethane. So everything we need in terms of equipment and technology we have in Brazil. So what the Brazilian Biogas Association does is to help promote the biogas, and with society, bringing information to companies, to society, and to public authorities as well. About regulatory framework, everything that we need to extract everything from biogas is established. So all regulatory framework is established. That is a main it's a main point of importance. So in a few years ago we didn't have it. We are still an early industry, but now we can say that everything is established, and now it is the way to start, right? So everything we need to produce heat and electricity, CNG, LNG, pipeline distribution, it is all well set. So there is, of course, there are some details and some aspects that we still view as a challenge for the development of the sector, but the most of it is established. So how is our industry today? Today we have around 550 plants operating in Brazil, most of them to generate electricity, and most of them using municipal solid waste and sewage. But we have a lot of other residues that could be directed to biogas production. And I'm going to show some numbers. So these are the plants in operation. They are all around the country, but Brazil is a really large country. So they are mostly concentrated in the southeast and southern regions. This is for the heat and power, sorry. And we have some plants that are directed to produce biomethane. So we understand that biomethane is the next step. Now we are on the electricity step to using biogas, but biomethane from this its capacity to decarbonize transport, it is really important for Brazil, because Brazil has electricity matrix that is already really clean, more than 80% of renewable sources, especially hydropower. So our main contribution for decarbonization should be in the transport sector, because we are dependent on fossil fuels. But already we have ethanol production and ethanol consumption that substitutes more than 50% of gasoline. So this is really interesting that in Brazil. So even in the transport sector, we have a cleaner matrix than other countries. So this is our electricity production from biogas today, around 200 megawatts of installed capacity, and the micro and mini distribution generation. These are the plants that are in the producer is also the consumer. So, or the consumer is also the producer. So this is regulatory possibility here in Brazil, and it has helped to build more plants for biogas. Talking a little bit more about the potential. So I have said that most of the plants are in operation. They use the residues from sanitation that are from municipal solid waste and sewage, but most of our potential is on the sugar and ethanol industry. It's a really large industry, and they have a lot of residues that should be used to produce biogas. It is good for biogas production, but it is seen like a residue. Some of it is used for the production for the sugarcane, but most of it is not used, is discarded, and it's energy being thrown out. So the second potential is from animal manure. We have a great production of protein here in Brazil, and the manure should be used also to produce biogas. So, and this is what we see as potential, what we have calculated, and it is distribution through the country. So this is the beauty of biogas. You could produce your energy anywhere. So from this potential, we could substitute around 40% of electricity demand or around 70% of diesel demand. And this is really important. About our perspectives from here, this is my last slide. So we have some really interesting programs and regulatory reforms that are happening in Brazil, and we think it is going to promote more the use of biogas. So there is this new gas market. It is to promote the natural gas and to increase competitivity in this industry. And biogas can be put on, and it can be valued using this market. RenovaBio is a program for biofuels, and it's a cap and trade system, such as happens in California and other countries, and it is to promote biofuels. But biogas can increase the use of ethanol. It can increase the credit generation for ethanol production because it makes the carbon intensity of it lower. So the person that is commercializing the ethanol can get more credits. And also the biomethane can generate credits. So it's two-way possibilities to develop the biogas sector. Also, we have a power sector reform that it's being modernized to include more renewable sources, more technologies, the distribution energy, the prosumers, the consumers that are producers, as I have mentioned. And there is a great possibility for biogas there because they're going to value the sources from the services that they can provide for the system. And this is where biogas has a lot of characteristics that are really great for the power sector. And also we have a new framework for municipal solid waste and sanitation with the enter of private investment, there is an expectation for 700 billion investments in this area, and to develop more, to eliminate first dumping grounds, and to increase utilization of these residues to produce energy. So this is what's going on in Brazil today, a lot of things, and we see that there is a lot of potential for biogas in every sector. So this is what I wanted to share with you today, and I'm available for questions later. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. That was quite informative. And in fact, we always learn a lot from you guys. And one of the things which we are all the time wondering is that as far as the biogas is concerned, we have a lot of parallel similarity between India and Brazil. Of course, Brazil is holding the biofuel flag very high because of the historical reason as well. But definitely, I think miles to go as far as the biogas or bioenergy is concerned. With this, I would like to come to the South Africa. I think we have got Mr. Eddie with us. Yeah, Mr. Eddie, over to you.
Good day there. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm going to also share my presentation. Let me just get to that quickly. Just indicate if you can start seeing it. Okay.
Perfect. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm Eddie Cook. I represent the Biogas Association. It's the Southern African Biogas Industry Association. We were formed 7 years ago with the need to structure the biogas industry and develop the industry from in the Southern African area, mainly concentrating in South Africa. Our main focus is to be the voice of the biogas industry in South Africa, and by that also representing Sabia on platforms like what you've created here today, which I think it's a very good initiative itself. If we look at what is currently happening in the biogas industry in South Africa, it's still very new. We're still developing a lot of standards, doing a lot of lobbying so that we can change legislation and get all the right sectors in place for the support of the biogas sector. It's very new in the country, so it's a lot of legwork to do, a lot of informating all the people, and also testing a lot of technologies and adopting a lot of industrial technologies into the country. We already at over 50 membership in our organization already, and that goes from all the sectors, from educational sectors, industrial sectors, right through to small digesters for rural areas, applications that's got off-grid itself. And that's why, for instance, with our energy, as you can see there, to the right, where we have actually achieved in the last 5 years actually a footwork into the energy supply, especially electricity at this stage. 500 megawatts will be coming online basically from 2023, supplying electricity to the country. As I sit here, it looks a little bit dark because we're in load shedding. We've got a lot of power reliability issues in the country, and renewable energies we see is the solution, not just for the waste in our country, turning solid waste into a renewable energy source, also reducing our carbon footprint at the end of the day, which is also very important for us. The full potential is over 3,000 megawatts at the current to be injected into our grid as we speak currently. Logically, from a mission point of view, it's important that we're part of the Paris Agreement, and we need to fulfill that. And bioenergy or biogas, in our view, is the right way of fulfilling this with a low carbon footprint itself. We have to fulfill also on the climate action initiatives, and we're also assisting with that, especially in countries like in Africa. It's very important that we try and meet with that. People are still burning wood as an energy source in a lot of the areas in Africa itself. But I think the potential and the circular economy is what's important. Agriculture is what's keeping us alive, puts food on the table, and we can use that waste. And as long as there's human beings, there will be waste. That solid waste can always be used again as an energy source going forward, and making a circular economy from waste back to human beings, to agriculture, leachate, and slurry going back as fertilizer, going into as organic fertilizer into the agricultural sector as well. Here's some highlights of different sectors with different potential and what we plan for the next 5 years, how to actually capture the energy source and actually do this. At the bottom, you'll see there's quite a few of our international and local partners assisting with these type of projects. We've had a lot of funding from UNIDO itself for the development of the association. And basically, as you can see there's in our country, PV and wind has taken off quite considerably. So we're tracking behind with the biogas, but we believe with enough effort, we will be able to pick up the volumes and have a good impact into the industry itself. As you can see there, that's basically the potential in money terms, and would actually then also be in a fact that we don't have to import more crude oil, because we at this moment import all our natural gas, and all crude oil is imported. Our biggest source of energy in the country is coal at the moment, and that's not environmentally friendly at this stage. If you have to look at potential of the biogas plants, we've got more than 50 industrial biogas plants already operating, coming from different sources, mainly agricultural sources, and then your solid waste, and then mostly our sewage or wastewater systems is self-sufficient, where they actually use all the biogas to actually for pumping and all that, but not sending any electricity outwards at this stage. These are major biogas plants in the country that's in existence, and also other micro digester projects for urban areas that's totally off the grid and be able to actually supply them power as such. Here's just some samples of some plants, piggeries, that case studies that we've done, municipal waste. At the end of the day, the whole ecosystem and the circular economy is what we think is very important. And that's where we also now developing what we call a PES, payment for environmental services. And we believe this is the way that we can subsidize and support through grants the biogas industry to actually grow the industry, because at this stage, financially, it's very difficult to make projects bankable or feasible. And in this way, you will get some grants and funding to actually make projects viable at the end of the day. As I mentioned, the standards and norms that we are developing, a lot of development from universities are going into small digesters, micro-scale digesters, after the urban community, a lot of people without any energy sources. And here we fulfill two stages. One, looking after their waste and sewage, and at the same time producing some electricity to them. And then at the end of the day, we need to put an input into the government and make biogas recognized as an energy source in the country itself. So that's from my side. I hope that was informative. As I say, we're starting on this side, but really very good development. And we believe that biogas would take this country forward, going in the recycling of energy and basically producing carbon-free energy going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Mr. Eddy. You almost covered all the aspects of biogas as such. And of course, there are many challenges which has to be faced, and we need to really bridge all kind of gap, with whether it is in the form of financial or whether it is in the form of different policy, etc. But we really need to bridge those, and it's not only for us; it's for the whole, humankind. It's for the whole nature as such, because nature does not have anything called waste. I mean, circular economy by default is a man-made word. In fact, nature will never produce waste, and that's why we don't need to quantify everything in a manner which is monetary beneficial. Of course, if we really quantify everything, whether it is in the form of health, whether it is in the form of hygiene, whether it is in the form of the whole eco balancing, etc., then definitely this will make more monetary sense. And I think this is one of the reasons why we are sitting together right now, and we are talking about the different options and different ecosystems that we can formulate, whether it is from the technical side, financial side, or from the policy side. It is all these are very important in order to have a successful project, in order to really make biofuel a success story. And with this, I would like to, in fact, come to Mr. Colleague, and we would like to know your opinion about the Indonesian market. Mr. Corey, somehow I'm not able to see you right now. Oh, yeah, you're here. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning for everyone. Depend on where are you. I'm Abdul Khalik from Indonesia. I'm engineer at the Indonesian Agency for the Assessment and Application of Technology, BPPT, and I'm also chairman of Indonesian Biogas Association, and also vice chairman of the Asia Pacific Biogas Alliance. Yes, that is. I learned biogas from Germany during my study for my diploma and master thesis, and also I joined the training and tour by the IBBK 4 years ago. That is my station. That's my activity in Indonesian Biogas Association. We do a lot of some exchange information, business matching, and also seminar and so on. And that is our association. We will do capacity building, research innovation, technology transfer, and so on, networking, matchmaking. And we are established just in the establishment phase, membership, and so on. That is from the BPPT, our experience. Some of them, biogas from slaughterhouse wastewater, from bioethanol wastewater, from organic waste, and also from POME, from palm oil mill effluents, and also from organic waste. That is covered lagoon built in Rio, and we use it for power generation. And that is another activity beside biogas. We do biomass gasification, also coal upgrading, and also use lubricants conversion to fuels, etc., etc. And I come to target and potential of biogas in Indonesia. That is our target energy mix. We would have 23% renewable energy. That is so and so biogas and biofuel, and that is to 2025. We have different feedstock for biogas production. The biggest is palm oil mill effluents, also cassava wastewater and other agro-industrial wastewater, also organic waste. We have a lot of this, and also fruit and vegetables, water hygiene, and also agricultural waste. That is the biggest one, POME. We have about 875 palm oil mills in Indonesia, and we assume that just 70 of them have already biogas plant. That means the potential is so good, so big that we can build more. We should build more biogas plant. Implementation in Indonesia, that is, I talk first the household or small scale biogas plant. For example, we have up to now about 50,000, almost 50,000 biogas plant, which is comparable with India, just less than biogas plant which is built in 1 year. India have 12.5 million biogas plants, and per year India built 65,000, and that is bigger than Indonesia biogas plant right now, the small scale. That is some example. I visit the biogas plant, small scale biogas plant, Kummamuru, and also from wastewater from tofu and tempeh production, and also from manure, from organic waste, and so on. Just for your expression about what kind of biogas plant in Indonesia. De-carbonisation utilization for fertilizer. That is the example of large-scale biogas from POME, from palm oil mill effluents. Many type of reactor, covered lagoon or tank reactor. That is a big, also big scale, industrial scale of biogas plant from manure. That is about not far from Jakarta. That is in West Java, in Subang, built last year. This new plant, and that is another example of biogas plant that is from pineapple processing, wastewater, and also from starch production, and they use biogas for substitution of coal, and also gas for starch drying and steam production for the processing this pineapple and also starch. We have the first biogas upgrading plan just successfully commissioned last week or this last month. That is in East Kalimantan or East Borneo. That is also from POME, from palm oil mill effluent. They use for electricity production and also for biomethane production, bio-CNG, and they use for vehicles for their own use. Research and development for the future biogas implementation, hopefully. First is in the pre-treatment, for example, for Co-Digestion, because for POME there's fluctuation due to the production of in the palm oil mill industry, and we theoretically we can put it the EFP, the empty fruit pens, to this, but we need a good pre-treatment for this. Another research topic is the utilization of for the digestate as fertilizer, and also I think that is big potential is the biogas upgrading for vehicle or for industrial use. Pre-treatment, there are a lot of technique. This thermopressure hydrolysis is my topic during my diploma thesis a long time ago, and another research is also done here by my colleague in Indonesia, for example, the mushroom cultivation, and after that they can put this as also feeding material. Our dream is like in other country, the upgrade the biogas and uses for truck or bus fuel. They use it for truck or bus fuel, and also for industrial use. That is an example or two example of research done by university group that is from ETB. They are doing research in what water scrubber technique, and that is absorption using nanoporous carbon. They have good result, I think. And that is existing infrastructure we can use for bio-CNG if we can provide biomethane or bio-CNG in enough volume and a good continuous production. We have existing gas fuel station. We have many gas vehicles. We have also alternative distribution of CNG via bottling, and we have also some gas pipeline in part of Indonesia. I think that is all of my present, but my closing remark is the potential of biogas in Indonesia is huge, so big, and biogas technology is already implemented in many places in Indonesia in small scale as well as industrial scale. More efforts are needed for broader or further implementation of the biogas technology. Alternative of biogas utilization not only for power generation but also for boiler co-firing, also for fuel as methane and bio-CNG. And that is my presentation. Thank you very much. We can discuss later. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. It was very informative. And definitely, when we are talking about especially the large-scale biogas plant, the feedstock plays a big role. And we need to have as clean feedstock as possible. And at the same time, we need those in quantity. Otherwise, it doesn't work properly. The better the feedstock, the better the output, or the better the technology. In fact, Ms. Reitman was also talking about all these different segments. And of course, it makes sense to start with a sector which has already got a bulk waste as far as the organic waste is concerned. And definitely in your case, this POME plays a big role, or cassava water and all this. And thanks a lot for the technicalities as well. That is quite good. And I am very sure that the audience has already got a glimpse about the whole scenario. And with this, in fact, I will now finally move to India. And I guess we are talking a lot about the status and everything. And one of the things which is really, creating a big buzz and which has got a lot of potential is the lignocellulosic biomass. So, when we are, let's say, in November or at the end of October in New Delhi, again, we all start talking about all the pollution, etc., which is normally happening because of paddy straw budding, etc. So I think it's a high time at the beginning, as I told you, that the bioenergy perhaps is no more an optional thing. It's a compulsion that we need to go for it, especially when you talk from the waste management point of view. With this, I would like to hand it over to Dr. Kumar from NIB to really put some light on the lignocellulosic biomass treatment in order to really extract biofuel from it. Over to you, Dr. Steve.
Thank you, Gaurav. So good evening to all. So it's my pleasure to be here, and thank you, Gaurav and IBA team, for inviting me. So quickly, I will share my presentation and will finish because we have very limited time. So I will discuss about the innovations in utilizing lignocellulosic biomass. As we are aware, okay, let me start from the feedstocks. So there are a lot of feedstocks which we are using for the biogas production, like cow dung, animal excreta or like municipal solid waste, kitchen waste, that we can use for the biogas production. But there is another feedstock which we can think of, like lignocellulosic feedstocks. So mainly crop residue, which are generated every year, and you can see it is almost evenly distributed on the earth or land. So if we see the lignocellulosic biomass, so they are we have crop residues like sugarcane bagasse, paddy straw, grasses, corn cob, corn stover, and woody biomass or waste as well. So if we see the technical challenges which we feel or which we face in utilizing these for the biogas production. So first is the feedstock supply chain and logistic systems. Due to the low density of these biomass, if we transport from one place to another, so it's a very costlier matter or very energy intensive. And even its harvesting, storage, and all these are the more like they are long-term issues which we have to deal with. So to deal with them, we have to do it in the decentralized way, like to select some periphery based on the biomass available in that area. Accordingly, we can move or we can set up a plant. I'm sorry. So, and another is the complex structure of this lignocellulosic biomass. So as Mohammed told in the last presentation that pre-treatment is one of the technique which we can use to utilize it efficiently. But the issues, because we have to add one more step, and we need the separate reactor or bioreactor or that reactor. So and we generally use some chemicals, or so these chemicals may be non-environment friendly, and maybe the toxic. So it's a very costlier thing to include this. So we have to think of alternative, or we just don't go for the pre-treatment. We can think of other alternatives. Another is lignocellulose. They are very high carbon. So it's like more than 75 or more than 100 carbon nitrogen ratio. But for the anaerobic digestion, we have to have between 20 to 30. So co-digestion, one of the option where we can combine, or we can mix with the nitrogen-rich substrates, like the kitchen waste, mandi waste. These are the very rich in proteins or nitrogen. So if we combine or if we mix with them, then we can maintain the C/N ratio. So to avoid the this pre-treatment and increase the biogas yield and productivity, we thought of the different use of different consortium. Like conventionally, we use Mesophilic Consortium, which works at 37 degrees centigrade, but it takes a lot of time and not that much efficient. So we developed a thermophilic consortium which we grown on water hyacinth, and then the portion or the fraction of this water hyacinth grown consortia was used for the different feedstocks, including crop residue. So in the next slide, I will show you how we use the paddy straw. So initially we optimize the size of pod paddy straw, we optimize the temperature, we optimize the solid loading, and how much seed percentage is required for efficient utilization, so that we can reduce the time required and increase the biogas yield with the methane composition as well. So there was like 5 to 10% solid loading with 10% seed, and temperature was 52 degrees centigrade, and it took only 12 days. If we compare it with the conventional one, if we take cow dung slurry as a seed, then it takes around 40 to 60 days. But here we are getting in 12 days only, and the biogas yield of about 350 to 400 meter cube per ton of dry matter of paddy straw. Even methane composition was more than 60%. So this is one flow diagram we prepared, like it was prepared for the 30 kg per day paddy straw utilization. So if you can see, it was calculated based on the 10% solid loading, right? So in 30 kg we added 270 kg of water, and then 10% of that seed we added. By that we are getting around 11.33 kg per day of biogas. So it is not on volume basis. So if you see the calculation, the CO2 content will be higher because of the high density of CO2. So here, if go for the purification through water scrubbing, that purification you can choose any of the method where we are getting the less loss of methane and like less time or whatever, based on the economic also you can choose. So after that we are getting around 95 to 96% of purified biogas. So here you can see the numbers like 4.12 kg per day with the methane of 3.87 kg. So finally we are getting the bio-CNG. If we want to use bio-CNG, just we can pressurize it using compressors, and then you can store it or sell it. Even if you want to generate the electricity, then through the turbines or engines you can generate the electricity. So this is one figure which we calculated. So by 30 kg per day of paddy straw, we can generate 10 meter cube per day of biogas with 60% methane content. And by that, if we go for the electricity generation, we can generate about 20 kilowatt hour per day electricity. And cooking gas, or if you talk about bio-CNG, it will be 4.12 kg per day. Similarly, we have done some optimization of grasses. So like if there is not a arable land, so there are a lot of grasses which are generated, so that we can also harvest and can use for biogas production. So here under the optimized conditions, we got around 400 to 700 meter cube per ton of grass biogas yield with a 60% methane. Here also we got the last HRT like 15-16 days. So here we draw one flow diagram for 1 ton of grass utilization per day. So here in grass, there we considered about 60% 40% solid content. So based on that, we calculated. So similarly, we calculate here, and we can see the biogas production of around 160 meter cube per day, where we can generate electricity about 320 kilowatt hour per day, and bio-CNG we see 65 kg per day. If I conclude my presentation, so there is a huge potential to utilize lignocellulosic biomass. It may be the crop residue, it may be the grasses, or we have to co-digest it with any waste like nitrogen rich or protein rich we can do. And this thermophilic consortium may be the potential. People generally ask for to maintain the temperature, you will have to put some energy. But if I would say we can do the hybrid with solar, or the partial biogas which we are getting at the higher yield and higher productivity, partial biogas we can use for the temperature maintain as well. So there will be, even at after utilizing that energy, we will be in the plus side, right? And we can avoid the pre-treatment as well. And if we see the potential of utilizing paddy straw in India, so there is around 130 million tons per year paddy straw production. So even if we can utilize, we could utilize 25% of that paddy straw, then we can generate around 5 million tons of bio-CNG per year. So that's all from my side. So let's join hands together for sustainable development, for energy, environment, and economy. So not only for India, for the globe, we have to do this sustainable development. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Dr. Sachin. That's so nice of you. In fact, that was one of the intention of this webinar as well, that we don't only, not only talk about potential, but we also talk from the harnessing those potential as well. And I think your presentation was in this direction. People will have the idea how to really harness that potential. I think we are running out of time, but definitely we'll take questions. And now, Dr. Shukla, over to you, sir. It's always a pleasure to hear from you and to really get the insight, because you have so much of experience along with all kind of knowledge. So over to you, sir.
Thank you, Gaurav, and all the participants across the globe. This is very fantastic time that we are having the bio-CNG, biogas, and bioenergy component of the whole energy sector. Now, we talk of circular economy, which is the subject and topic today. And in my childhood, I have seen that really it was a circular economy in the rural areas, where most of the things were getting produced in the villages and around, and only very few things were getting from outside. But we have introduced the petroleum and the coal-based energy and technologies in that area, and we have totally taken the locally produced energy component of the whole cycle out of it. The result is it all has become irrelevant, and the result is it is getting burned. All the biomass waste which was produced that was being used in the system, now that is getting burnt, and that is where we have made the whole sector uneconomical. The farmers are now not happy because they have to invest more and the outputs are less. So therefore, we had a very good session today from different experts and speakers from different countries and associations. Now, everywhere the problem remains that who should fund it. It's not a very simple sector. It's a very, very difficult sector. As India, we have done all the aspects of technology development, its utilization, its demonstration, its dissemination across the country. Be it from a tiny biogas plants to a very large biogas plants, industrial scale biogas plants, and using different substrates. And we have gone through the process, but ultimately it comes to it is not sustainable, because whatever competing technologies and systems and energies are there, we are not able to compete with them. How it can be done? So my presentation just now is going to give you some ideas how you can do it in your different countries. Now, biofuels we talk of, including the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, when the biofuel policies were made, it was only the bio-liquid fuel policy. And now the new policy is also really not having everything in totality. Of course, the biogas fuel or the bio-CNG has been included. So once we talk biofuels, we have to talk of all its manifestations, be it the gaseous fuel or the liquid fuel or the solid fuel. And liquid fuel we have got two, the ethanol, bioethanol, and the biodiesel. But we have to remember everywhere that once we go at a critical stage, the Gaurav said, and I have to conceptualize that ultimately the biomass waste or the biomass feedstock is going to be very critical once we are going to a stage. Now, therefore, once it is a common denominator, there we have to see that how much waste should be made available to which technology should be put up for handling these waste. Not that any technology can use all the waste, it is possible. But ultimately, most economical technologies are to be used. And from that angle, the policies of different countries are to be really weaved and made. For this reason, we have our pavilion which we planned for this sector. It was bioenergy, not only the bio-CNG, the biogas, as we were doing in earlier years. And everywhere, in a country like India, where we have the limited everything, so land resources are limited and requirements are in all the areas. Therefore, the food, fodder, fertilizer, and fuel, all the four needs are to be addressed. And for that, the policies are to be made suitable. Not that we can produce fuel from the grains, we can produce fuel from the sugarcane juice, but ultimately, where from the food is going to come.
Similarly, we can consume all the agro waste, but where from the fodder is going to come. We can consume the chemical fertilizers, but unless there is a biofertilizer, organic fertilizer, the composts are there, we are not going to sustain our agriculture anywhere in the world. So therefore, as a fuel, as a fertilizer, as a fodder, as a food, we have to make our policies and strategies everywhere. The hybridization is the key word we have to remember, and therefore instead of we compete that everything is put in the bioethanol production thing, or everything is burnt for the heat generation, thermal energy generation, then the organic fertilizer will be missing. So therefore, we have to earmark these biomass waste for different technology depending on whether they are a solid biomass, lignocellulosic biomass, or they are the loose, leafy, and the liquid waste biomass waste are there. Accordingly, we have to have the technologies and their installations. So therefore, for different technology, loose and leafy biomass, we can have production of bio-CNG, biogas, or the liquid fuels, and the solid and liquid organic fertilizer we can produce out of it. Woody biomass, because of the difficulties in the technologies, they also want to use and leafy biomass for the ethanol production. But better would be that the second and third generation technologies are used to use the lignocellulosic material, the woody material for the production of the liquid fuels. Of course, the solid oils or the seed oils can be used for the production of biodiesel ultimately, but the wastes are going to be used for the bio-CNG generation. Now, the solid fuels, the briquettes and pellets, they are very important, and approach everywhere. People say that I want to burn it everywhere in the furnace. That we have to see that the policies do address in a manner that doesn't happen. So therefore, we have to handle the biomass. The problem is that the availability. Now, once we in a situation like in India, situation is that the biomass waste are available in a decentralized manner in general, and therefore, if you want to going to have it, how you are going to have it, and if you are going to have very large plants at a centralized location, then the carbon footprint is going to be very difficult to handle, very critical. And it is therefore one idea which I want to see with all of you, leave with all of you, that we can think of a biofuel mining area. As there is a mining area for the minerals, we can think of the biofuel mining area, and accordingly the areas are allotted to different companies so that all types of biomass waste and biomass produce, they can be harnessed and they can be utilized for all the four: fuel, food, fuel, and fertilizer purposes. And wherein whatever the suitable technology I have told, those are used. And all the existing sewage treatment plants are to be converted to bio-STPs, except the chemical plants are having STPs leaving that. And we have to have biomass waste resource bank in different areas, because these plants will be requiring feedstock, biomass feedstock all around the year, but the availability is only seasonal because of the cropping patterns, etc. But the biofuel policy in India, it was remade in 2018, and we have the bio-CNG, as I mentioned, as a part of it. But ultimately, whatever actions have been taken by the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, who has made this policy, the twist is towards the liquid biofuels. And the biogaseous fuels are largely left to the market mode, although they say that they are giving a very good price, but actually it is not. And the biosolid fuels, nobody talks in the implementation stage. As regards the options available from the policies, the road transport has allowed it as a biofuel via bioautofuel. BIS standard is there, which have been part in MNRE when it started in 2016, ultimately 2013 and 16. Now, different ministries of the government of India are having different programs. One is very talked of today's time is SATAT program, where the numbers which they have put under the program are mentioned here, and they say that Indian rupees 46 per kg is the price on which they are going to buy, which is not sufficient. And Ministry of Fertilizer is having the support for the market development, for which the biogas fertilizer is yet to be put. Of course, the biogas fertilizers are now under fertilizer control order. It will be possible to do it. And similarly, Ministry of Environment is having a policy for 2016, which allowed that the segregation of the biomass waste is essential by the municipal bodies. And another program is Govardhan by the Drinking Water and Sanitation, especially for rural areas. And that one, of course, is to be promoted. A lot of things are yet to be done in this program. These are the numbers about the power generation plants and the bio-CNG, including their potential in India. Of course, it's a table having a lot of information. So therefore, in a very short time, it won't be able to, you'll be able to capture it. But just to mention, we have the, as I mentioned, 1 to 25 cubic meter plant. There is a program. 3 to 250 kilowatt for power generation. There is a program, and more than 250 kilowatt and up to 250 kilowatt for power generation. There is a program. There is a bio-CNG, the compressed biogas. There is a program, and for the heating and cooking needs, there is a program. Now, the required policy is that we have to move from the upfront subsidy, which is being provided in India for many years, to generation-based incentive, because the bio-CNG and the biogas plants are the bioenergy plants, for say, so to say, are difficult ones, and therefore, once the plant is installed through upfront subsidy, these are not operated for their lives. So therefore, the generation-based incentive concept is now being propagated by Indian Biogas Association. We are in touch with all the concerned government ministries, departments, including the Prime Minister's office, that the generation-based incentives see the light of the day. The other thing is that, which is for Brazil and other countries to see, that the bioethanol, biodiesel, and the compressed biogas are now to be compared for pricing and procurement in terms of how much energy they are going to produce, what is the heat value they are going to produce. And we have done some exercise in India, and we have found that the bio-CNG and the compressed biogas is far ahead of them. The bioethanol per se is having almost half the calorific value or the heat value. But the pricing, it is rupees 75, Indian rupees 75 per kg of the ethanol which India is offering. And for the bio-CNG, they are offering only rupees 46, though the calorific value or the heat value is double. The other thing which we are, as Indian Biogas Association, the last bullet here, we are trying to have the gas grids across the country, whatever it is available. A lot of gas grid is available, but wherever it is not, we are making a case to the government that it should be added by and by, so that we are able to put all the biogas generated in the gas grids and supply, including the rural areas and the villages. Now, one program which Government of India has launched recently is the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, and for that we have seen that if we do the total potential harnessing in the country, then we can produce a lot of employment opportunity, as Gaurav has said in many other speakers, that it is having the different aspects of it. It is going to generate employment, it is going to generate energy, it is going to generate fertilizer, and it is also going to provide food. Because if you are going to do the study for the fisheries, then we are going to have the fisheries also, and fishes also for as a food material available to people. It can work as a strategic fuel in any country, because we are going to have the materials which are the locally available. The biomass waste or the biomass as a feedstock is locally available, and it will be adding the decongestion in the cities, which is happening across the globe. And people do talk that urbanization is the solution, but the urbanization has created more of the problems which we are not able to handle, and therefore decongestion of cities is to be planned, and the bio-CNG and the biogas and the bioenergy plants and technologies are going to make offer solutions to that. Similarly, the other numbers, what we are arguing with the government, that if we take all the outputs in the form of organic fertilizer, in the form of GHG emission reduction and in the form of energy generation, then the total output is more than what government is going to put up, including the rupees 20, Indian rupees 20 GPI for that. So these are some numbers which we are requesting the government that let there be a paradigm shift in the policy in India, so that we are able to harness the biogas potential in totality in next 15 to 20 years of time. Now these are the transportation from the existing plant facility that I have already mentioned. Now the other concept we are floating is the biogas fertilizer fund, because ultimately funds are not available. The banks and financial institutions are not coming because the outputs which are there, the buyers are not there, and therefore these financial institutions, banks are not coming forward to finance. So we are suggesting to the government that the biogas fertilizer fund be created, the generation-based incentives are given so that this sector becomes competitive. And also, as some countries have done, the Sweden, the speaker, Bharadwaj, has mentioned about it, that we can tax the carbon. In India, of course, there is a cess on coal, but there is a need to have cess on the petroleum products also, especially the transportation fuel products also. Now, everywhere we see that it is seen only at the energy sector, but it is not. It is a social infrastructure sector where we are going to provide energy, we are going to provide organic fertilizer, we are also going to treat the waste, which is the problem everywhere in industry and also in the urban area. So therefore, as I mentioned, we have to have the biomass resource bank, and for that, suitable harmonization of integration of all different schemes of government in India are to be placed in under one umbrella, so that we are able to support this sector. Glimpses of IB, Indian Biogas Association services. We are providing support to all the sectors. We have got the biogas lab at the Banaras University, and of course, we are continuously interacting with the government and providing support in the policy making, and also interacting with our industries, offering the consultation services. So that any newcomers from abroad or in India, the promoter of the biogas and bio-CNG bioenergy sector, we are able to provide support. With this, thank you very much for your attention, and I hope that we will be together globally able to establish this sector so that it becomes order of the day, which is only more of talking everywhere, but actual doing as per potential very, very little, except in some countries like Sweden and Germany. Thank you very much, Gaurav. Thank you very much, all the participants and organizations.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot, sir. As said, sir, it's always a pleasure to hear, and you speak from heart, so it's even more important that we not only stick to the facts and figures, but we also foresee the vision where we need to go, and that's very, very important that we take a route which is smooth but also very much disciplined. So I think with this, the floor is open for the questions, and we are flooded with questions. So I don't think we have any time left, but still I will just ask a couple of questions to Mr. Bharadwaj. People are asking, what about the pyrolysis gas, especially when you are considering the biomass? Do you also consider that under biofuel only, or do you have a different segment for that, or you don't even consider that as far as the syngas is considered? I mean, or the pyrolysis process is considered?
No, I mean, in fact, we actually had, thanks for the question first, but in fact, we have actually had a webinar a couple of years back, which we looked at pyrolysis oil and the potential. But of course, compared to the use mainly for pyrolysis oil is mainly the heating sector, not, of course, in the transportation. And it's the level of commercialization of technology is not at the same level as other liquid biofuel technologies. But there is a lot of potential. There are a few commercial establishments. There's some pilot plant projects happening in the Netherlands and Canada as well, and in the US. We see progress happening, but it's still a bit slow. But we hope not just pyrolysis oil, but there's other purified biomass and other technologies, and we need all those technologies. And there's no one silver bullet and no one particular technology or one particular feedstock which will solve this issue. So we track that, we follow that, and we feel it has good potential.
Okay, great. Thank you. Mr. Rothman, can you just put some light on the price which you are able to fetch as far as the biomethane is considered? Definitely, you said that it's a very new field right now, but will you be able to really comment on the price part of the biomethane? Because in India, Dr. Shukla, talked about 46 rupees, which is I don't know, around 60 cents or something like this, US cents. Yeah. So, do you have some numbers with you as far as the bio-CNG per kg is considered, for example?
Yeah, I don't have actually the numbers because they vary a lot from each company, but we can say that most of the times it's really close to natural gas. What is the difference is how when we consider selling these for distribution companies that are public companies, and they have to buy the biomethane in the same price as the natural gas, because it goes to all the consumers, everyone pays a tariff, a fee. So what we say is that the price is close to natural gas, but the structure for updating the value. So what is the difference is that how you establish the price for biomethane, it has to be different, because natural gas is priced based on international oil prices and on dollar in the dollar. So biomethane, it's not. It just depends on national feedstocks or on other equipments and things like that. So it can be really close to natural gas, but the structure for the price is different.
Makes sense. Thank you. I mean, that's one of the things Dr. Shukla was also talking about. This benchmarking with natural gas, we don't know how good it is or how bad it is, but natural gas is a geographical lottery. You simply pump it out. But for as far as the biogas is concerned, we need to really put effort, and there is. It's not just that we are just talking about biogas. We are talking about the whole lot of other dimension as well. But thanks a lot. I think that gives a fair idea. And we still have a couple of questions, and I'll just take 2 more minutes. So, Mr. Kohli, one question for you and for Mr. Eddy as well. So, normally when you talk about municipal solid waste, so of course you are utilizing the organic part of it, but there are a lot of combustible material as well in MSW, be it in the form of plastic, be it in the form of paper, which you are not able to segregate. So what do? You simply send it back to the landfill, or you can send it to the, let's say someone asked, to the fire kiln in a cement factory, etc. Do you have some standard procedure, or it's just the random and it depends where exactly you are and what exactly you are able to do? Mr. Kohli? I think you are mute.
Yes. Mr. Eddy first? I. Okay, I. Yes, in Indonesia, we have a big problem with the municipal solid waste. We do not have a good separation system that the people mix the waste, and that is a big problem for us. My dream is in the future we should have a good preparation system that the people from the house separate this waste, and we can at the end utilize the organic waste for biogas production and also composting and so on. But nowadays that the mix simply. Just as maybe some people do separation for example, myself, I spirit and I utilize the organic waste for composting a small composter and so on. But mostly they threw all in the landfill. That is not good practice, I know. But in the future, I hope that we can utilize also organic waste from municipal solid waste as biogas feedstock. Yes, it's situation in Indonesia.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Eddy, what's your opinion? We have got one more question for you, and says that how much is the contribution of biogas sector you feel as far as climate mitigation strategy is concerned? I think the question says that what's your opinion about the biogas as far as its role in the climate mitigation is concerned? So if you can just put some light on it, that would be great.
Okay, firstly, from a biogas point of view, if biomass would land up in a landfill, we would anyway get methane production, and actually the methane gets released into the atmosphere, which is more than 20 times more harmful than CO2 release into atmosphere. So from our point of utilizing the biomass and then turning it into a captured methane and actually using the methane as an energy source is basically our drive. It doesn't say specifically in what format. It doesn't mind if you go to thermal, going for vehicle fuel, or producing electricity and then also using the heat of that. So long as that potential in the biomass is captured and actually reused to the benefit of a energy shortage supply in a country, and we believe in that way we can mitigate the emissions in our country itself. And if I can just add to regarding Indonesia's situation, very similar in South Africa. We don't have any sorting from source as a culture. We're starting to do that. However, we've got an informal sector that's actually capturing some of the plastic, aluminiums and all that as a source of income, and by that way actually sorting a lot of our biomass for us before it actually lands up on the landfill. So there's a lot of informal recycling of those plastics before it lands in the landfill itself.
Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot. Dr. Steen, I think it's the last question now from our side. We are already, up by half an hour or something. But thanks to everyone for showing the enthusiasm and being with us. So basically, the question is very simple. People are asking that, what's your opinion as far as the lignocellulosic future is concerned, from harnessing biogas perspective or from harnessing biofuel perspective? Are you hopeful about it, or what's your opinion? Because we saw that you already gave the technical presentation that technically it's feasible. But how do you really foresee, going further? And if it's really so good, what state we really need to really consider in order to really make it happen, so that there is no burning, so that there is no misuse of the biomass? We have definitely have got a lot of energy demand, so better to use it from the energetical perspective instead of simply burning it out.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. So yeah, we are very hopeful to implement these utilizing of these lignocellulosic biomass, mainly the crop residue. Actually, once the crop is harvested, so farmers want their farm clean for the next sowing or next crop. They don't have much time to wait. So that's why in the northern India, mostly farmers do practice to burn those residue in the farms only. Once we have a technology, or we have the options to buy it from the farmers or to utilize, then only farmers will stop to burn it or to do uncontrolled digestion. So we have to make the mechanism mechanism for the its harvesting, its transportation, and its storage. Once storage is done, then we can implement these technologies not only for biogas but multiple products which we can generate. That may be in the biorefinery way, like in an integrated manner. So if we go for a single product, that might not be economically viable. So actually lignocellulosic having the different components like cellulose, hemicellulose, lignin. So all these components we can convert into some useful products. So if we talk about biogas, only mostly hemicellulose part is utilized and partly cellulosic part, right? So if we see the remaining residue, that contains mostly cellulose and lignin, right? So all these two components can further be converted into the biofuel or bioethanol, because cellulose to ethanol is very convenient as compared to the hemicellulose. Right, now come to the lignin part. So lignin, that is like very cyclic, or you can say aromatic compounds, right? So these compounds we can derive from useful products like a cyclic compounds, which have the very high market value. So in that manner, if we set up a plant where we can utilize if you talk about conventional refinery where we use the fossil fuel or this crude oil, where we refine and we produce multiple products, not only fuels, diesel, petrol, and these components. Other than that, we derive a lot of chemicals. So in that manner, we can utilize that lignocellulosic biomass. And yeah, we are very hopeful to make it like a economically viable technology.
Great, great. Thanks a lot. I think with this words, we need to end the session. Thanks a lot, everyone. It was really a pleasure to have you all over here. Thanks a lot to the audience for sticking with us till the end. And we are really, really hopeful, and we are really, we really wish that biofuel really become a reality in a manner that we are able to really harness the potential which we are talking, not just the numbers on fingers. Thanks a lot. With this, I would like to hand it over to you, Amit. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank
you so
you.
much. Thank you so much. See, this is one session, no, on biogas, which is like really close to our hearts. So though the session timing was from 5:30 to 6:30, but we don't mind an extension of this topic, because any time given to this topic is something less. We would always want to know more time, more effort can be put into it. So with that, I would like to thank Dr. Gaurav Kedia for moderating the session, and it was done impeccably. Our love for bioenergy is beyond compare, Gaurav.
Thanks a lot. In fact, thanks to everyone for
Yes,
being back
yes,
there.
I would. Yes, I would also like to thank all our panelists, starting from Dr. A.R. Shukla. Dr. Shukla, you've been very kind with your words. Mr. Bharadwaj, Kummamuru, thank you so much for your time. It was a wonderful presentation. Ms. Tamar Roitman, thank you for your time, for your effort, for your presentations. Dr. Sachin Kumar, it was very valuable. In fact, whatever is being discussed right now in India, we need to implement it as soon as possible as well. Dr. Mohammed Abdul Khalik, thank you so much for your time and for the wonderful presentation. Mr. Eddie Cook, pleasure meeting you virtually though. But yes, we look forward to seeing you again in our physical shows. Thank you for your presentation. Had there been, it's been like time for sharing thoughts and presentations along with applications being used globally and in India. So this was like one of the best of the sessions whereby we discussed about all kind of applications which are being used globally and in India. So from my side, from REI, we look forward to connect with you all more often. And I would also like to thank all our patient audience who've been listening to our presentations, our discussions. In fact, we still have people who are listening to the presentation, to the session. So thank you so much. We have the first session which starts tomorrow at 10:30, and we look forward to seeing you all. And we wish you good health, safety, and go green. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
all.
Namaste.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much.